Happy New Year 2025. We always love to kick off a new year by diving into some fascinating research. And you guys did not disappoint.
The new year always feels like a good time to prioritize our health, right?
Absolutely. So this time we're tackling the link between sleep and weight, specifically sleep-disordered breathing. Get ready to explore the world of sleep apnea and obesity.
Sounds intriguing.
This study we'll be looking at today was done in India, and it was published in the International Journal of Innovative Science and Research Technology.
Oh, interesting. I'm familiar with that journal. They always publish cutting-edge research.
Right. Okay, so this study focused on something called obstructive sleep apnea, or OSA. Um, for our listeners who aren't medical experts, could you maybe break down what exactly OSA is and why it's such a big deal?
Sure. So imagine you're sound asleep, but your airway, the passage that allows air to flow into your lungs, becomes partially or completely blocked.
Whoa.
That's essentially what happens in OSA. It's like your body momentarily forgets to breathe. It leads to these pauses in breathing throughout the night.
That sounds a little scary, to be honest. Is it as common as it sounds?
It's more common than people realize, and the symptoms aren't always, super clear-cut.
Okay.
Loud snoring is a classic sign, but not everyone who snores has OSA.
Gotcha.
Other signs might include gasping for air during sleep, waking up feeling unrefreshed, or maybe, experiencing excessive daytime sleepiness.
Mm.
It's often this silent culprit, quietly impacting your health without you even realizing it.
So sneaky. Okay, so back to this study in India. I've looked at 100 people, which is a pretty decent sample size.
Yeah.
What were some of the most surprising or interesting findings that jumped out at you?
The sheer prevalence of OSA in this particular study was definitely eye-opening. A staggering 90% of the participants were diagnosed with OSA.
90%. Wow.
Yeah.
That's significantly higher than what we generally see in broader population studies, right?
Yeah, it is.
90%, that's alarmingly high. What could be driving such a high prevalence in this group?
That's the million-dollar question. While this particular study didn't really delve into the root causes, it did highlight some intriguing correlations. For instance, the average BMI of the participants was 26.82, which places them in the overweight category.
So could this mean that there's a strong link between weight and sleep apnea?
It certainly seems that way. There's a growing body of evidence suggesting that, excess weight, especially around the neck and abdomen, can physically compress the airway, making it more susceptible to collapse during sleep.
Okay, that makes sense. But it's more than just feeling tired during the day, right? What are some of the real-world consequences of living with untreated OSA?
The impact of OSA goes far beyond daytime sleepiness, although that in itself can be debilitating, affecting concentration, productivity, and even putting you at risk for accidents.
Right.
But the real concern is the long-term health consequences. This study found a high prevalence of hypertension and diabetes among the participants, which are often linked to OSA.
Okay, so we're talking about a domino effect here. OSA not only disrupts your sleep, but also sets the stage for other serious health problems.
Precisely. The repeated drops in oxygen levels and surges in stress hormones that occur during those OSA episodes, they put a significant strain on your cardiovascular system,
Yeah.
increasing the risk of high blood pressure, heart disease, and even stroke. And the hormonal imbalances triggered by sleep deprivation can disrupt your body's ability to regulate blood sugar, increasing the risk of developing diabetes.
Yeah, it's like this complex web of interconnected health issues.
And OSA is often right at the center of it.
Exactly.
So this is making me rethink those late nights,
Definitely.
But say someone's listening and they think they might have OSA. What should they do?
Well, the first and most important step is to talk to their doctor.
Okay.
They can assess your individual symptoms and risk factors and then recommend the appropriate tests.
Okay, so what kind of tests are we talking?
The gold standard for diagnosing OSA is a sleep study.
Oh, yeah.
It's also known as polysomnography. Polysomnography. So what does a sleep study actually involve?
Well, it usually involves spending a night in a specialized sleep lab
Okay.
where they monitor various things like your brain activity, your eye movements, your heart rate, your breathing patterns, and blood oxygen levels while you sleep.
Wow, that sounds a little intense.
It sounds a bit intimidating, but it's painless, and it can provide invaluable insights into your sleep quality and diagnose any underlying sleep disorders.
Okay, so let's say you do the sleep study and you get diagnosed with OSA. What happens next?
Thankfully, there are effective treatments available.
Okay, good.
One of the most common and effective treatments for moderate to severe OSA is something called continuous positive airway pressure, or CPAP therapy.
CPAP therapy. Yeah, I've heard of that.
Have you?
Yeah, but can you explain how it works for those who haven't?
Sure. Imagine a gentle air splint for your airway.
Okay.
That's essentially what CPAP does.
Okay.
You wear a mask over your nose or mouth while you sleep. And the mask is connected to a machine that gently blows air into your airway, keeping it open and preventing those obstructive breathing pauses throughout the night.
So it's not just about getting more sleep, it's about getting better quality sleep.
That is a great way to put it.
Right.
CPAP can be a game changer for people with OSA.
Wow.
It improves sleep quality, it reduces daytime sleepiness, and it can really lower the risk of those long-term health complications we discussed earlier.
That's reassuring to know.
Yeah,
But is CPAP the only option?
it is not.
What about lifestyle changes?
Lifestyle modifications can play a crucial role in both preventing and managing OSA.
Okay.
One of the most impactful changes you can make, especially if you're overweight or obese, is losing even a small amount of weight.
Really? Even a small amount?
Even a small amount.
So those New Year's resolutions to eat healthier and exercise more could actually make a difference in someone's sleep.
They absolutely can.
Wow.
Even a modest weight loss can reduce the pressure in your airway and significantly improve OSA symptoms. And regular exercise, besides its numerous other health benefits, can help strengthen the muscles involved in breathing and improve overall sleep quality.
It's amazing how interconnected everything is.
It really is.
From our weight to our sleep to our overall health.
Absolutely.
And speaking of connections, let's go back to this study for a moment.
Okay.
It highlighted a pretty high prevalence of smoking among the participants, with an average smoking history of almost 15 pack years.
Yeah, smoking is definitely a concern.
What does smoking have to do with sleep apnea?
That's a great question.
Yeah.
While this particular study didn't establish a direct cause and effect relationship, there's a growing body of research suggesting that smoking can worsen OSA symptoms.
How so?
Well, smoking irritates and inflames the delicate tissues in your airways,
Right.
making them more susceptible to swelling and narrowing. And this inflammation can exacerbate the airway obstruction that occurs in OSA,
Oh, okay.
leading to more frequent and severe breathing pauses during sleep.
So it's like adding fuel to the fire. You're already dealing with a compromised airway, and smoking just makes it worse.
Exactly. And it's not just the physical effects of smoke.
Right.
Nicotine, the addictive substance in cigarettes, can also disrupt sleep patterns and reduce sleep quality.
It's like a double whammy.
It is.
So quitting smoking really is a win-win situation for your sleep and overall health.
I couldn't agree more. It's one of the best things you can do for your body, both in the short term and the long term.
This is really eye-opening.
Yeah,
It sounds like we've only just scratched the surface here.
definitely.
There's still so much more to learn and explore when it comes to sleep.
Absolutely. There's always more to discover, and that's what makes this field so fascinating.
Well, before we wrap up, I'd like to touch on one more point that the study mentioned.
Okay.
Another sleep disorder called periodic limb movement disorder.
Ah, yes, that's an interesting one.
It is.
It's often overlooked, but can significantly impact sleep quality.
So what exactly is periodic limb movement disorder?
So, while both involve leg movements, there's a key distinction.
Okay.
Restless leg syndrome, or RLS, typically occurs while you're awake.
Right.
Especially in the evening or at night.
Uh-huh.
It involves this irresistible urge to move your legs, often accompanied by unpleasant sensations like tingling or creeping.
Oh, I've heard of that.
You
Yeah.
have periodic limb movement disorder, or PLMD, on the other hand, happens while you're asleep.
Okay.
It involves involuntary jerking or twitching movements of your legs, which can disrupt your sleep without you even realizing it.
So you might not even be aware that it's happening.
Exactly. And while the exact causes of PLMD are still being investigated, it's thought to be related to disruptions in the way certain brain chemicals are regulated, particularly dopamine.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Is there a connection between PLMD and the other conditions we've been talking about, like OSA, obesity, or cardiovascular problems?
There's definitely some overlap.
Right.
Like OSA, PLMD can disrupt sleep, leading to daytime sleepiness and fatigue. And some studies suggest a potential link between PLMD and an increased risk of cardiovascular problems, although more research is needed to solidify that connection.
So it's another piece of the puzzle, another reminder that sleep health is multifaceted and can have far-reaching implications for our overall well-being.
You said it.
Right.
It's all interconnected, and the more we understand about these connections, the better equipped we are to make informed choices about our health.
This has been an incredibly insightful exploration of the complex world of sleep, obesity, and their impact on our health.
It has.
But I have a feeling we've only just scratched the surface.
There's always more to learn.
There is. Well, on that note, I think it's time to wrap up this part of our deep dive. But we'll be back soon to delve even deeper into the mysteries of sleep and its impact on our lives. All this talk about sleep is making me think about those New Year's resolutions we were talking about earlier.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it seems like every time we peel back a layer of the sleep onion, we find another layer underneath.
It's true. Sleep is such a complex and fascinating topic.
But speaking of onions, I'm starting to get hungry.
Well, that's a great segue to something we haven't really touched on yet, the connection between sleep and diet.
Okay, now we're really getting into the nitty-gritty. I'm all ears.
It's not just about what we eat, but also when we eat.
Okay, so what's the latest scoop on how meal timing impacts sleep?
Well, research suggests that late-night eating, especially heavy meals close to bedtime, can disrupt your sleep.
Really?
When you eat a big meal, your body's working hard to digest it, which can interfere with your ability to fall asleep and stay asleep.
Huh. So those late-night snack cravings might actually be sabotaging our sleep.
It's definitely a possibility, especially if those snacks are loaded with sugar or processed carbs, which can cause energy spikes and crashes that make it harder to settle into a restful sleep.
So it's not just about what we're eating, but when we're eating it.
Exactly.
Makes sense. Any other dietary tips for better sleep?
Yeah, there are a few things to keep in mind.
Okay.
First, try to make dinner your lightest meal of the day. Second, aim to finish eating at least 2 to 3 hours before bed to give your body time to digest before you hit the pillow.
Gotcha.
And finally, be mindful of what you're snacking on.
Right.
If you're hungry before bed, reach for something light and sleep promoting, like a handful of almonds or a small bowl of oatmeal.
These are all great, practical tips.
I try to follow them myself.
It sounds like a little planning and mindful eating can go a long way toward improving our sleep.
Absolutely. Small changes can make a big difference.
And speaking of changes, one thing that often gets overlooked is the impact of our sleep environment.
Oh, that's so important.
Yeah, it's not just about how many hours we're clocking, but also about the quality of our sleep sanctuary.
Right.
So, Sleep Hygiene 101, what are some key things we can do to create a sleep-conducive environment?
Think of your bedroom as a sleep haven, cool, dark, and quiet.
Okay, I like that.
Keep the temperature on the cooler side. Around 65 degrees Fahrenheit is ideal.
Okay,
Make sure your room is as dark as possible.
yeah.
Blackout curtains are your best friend. And minimize noise distractions. Consider using earplugs or a white noise machine to block out any unwanted sounds.
Great tips. I love the idea of turning our bedrooms into sleep sanctuaries.
Yeah.
And it's not just about the physical environment, right?
Yeah.
What about those pre-sleep rituals?
You're absolutely right. Creating a relaxing bedtime routine can do wonders for signaling to your body that it's time to wind down.
Uh-huh.
Taking a warm bath, reading a book, listening to calming music. These are all great ways to de-stress and prepare for sleep.
It sounds like we're talking about a holistic approach to sleep, from our diet to our environment to our pre-sleep habits.
Exactly. It's all interconnected.
Well, this deep dive has certainly given us a lot to chew on, or rather, not chew on too late at night.
That's right.
It's been fascinating to explore the complex world of sleep and its impact on our health and well-being.
It's been a pleasure diving into this topic with you.
Likewise.
And I hope our listeners feel empowered to prioritize their sleep and make positive changes that will benefit their overall health.
I couldn't agree more. And remember, a good night's sleep is the ultimate act of self-care.
So true.
So as we embark on this new year, let's make those ZZs a priority.
Sweet dreams, everyone.
Sweet dreams.